Newsfirst at 9. Headlines.
Good evening and welcome to News at 9, coming to you live from the Newsfirst Centre here in Colombo. I'm Stephanie Lazarus and here are your headlines. A journalist who was reporting on an attempt to illegally capture an elephant calf assaulted. Court case over the murder of Bharata Lakshman referred to the High Court. Police suspect that foul play was involved in the explosion that took place in a house in Balangoda. Adverse weather conditions to affect the island Allavallavai road closed while operations on the upcountry railway track hampered. Let's now cross over to the main desk for a more comprehensive look at these stories.
Well, thank you very much, Stephanie, for bringing us tonight's headlines. Hello there and welcome from the Newsfirst studios in Colombo. I'm Nadim Majid.
And I'm Inosha Ratnasekara. In your top story tonight, a group of persons attempted to abduct Newsfirst provincial correspondent in Godekavela Mahinda Pushpakumara last night as he attempted to report on the theft of an elephant calf from the Udavalavan National Park. While our correspondent was rescued owing to the intervention of area residents and wildlife officers, the cassette containing the footage of the incident was stolen. Our correspondent, who was injured during the altercation, is being treated at the Godekavela hospital, while a complaint has been lodged with the Godekavela police. Newsfirst lodged a written complaint with the Inspector General of Police today.
Wildlife officers had received a tip-off at about 7 o'clock last night that a group of people who had entered the Galpaya area in the Udavalavan National Park were attempting to steal a wild elephant calf. Wildlife officers had gone to the area with the awareness of senior officials at the department. They had also obtained the assistance of the police for this operation. The officers who were keeping watch on the road accosted a suspicious tractor and cab in the Gullena area in Udavalava. Wildlife officers had seized the tractor and arrested the driver. Wildlife officers say that the people travelling in the cab had threatened the officers and had then taken away the driver of the tractor. The group had then assaulted Newsfirst provincial correspondent in Godekavela, Mahinda Pushpakumara, who was recording the incident on his camera.
Mr. Wildlife.
A reliable source informed me at around 9:30 last night that wildlife officers have discovered that a certain group was going to steal a wild elephant calf from the Udavalavan Reserve via Galpaya Road and that they were going there to conduct a raid. They invited me to come along and I went to the location with them to cover the incident. Officers of the Godekavela police too were there. At the time that the vehicle, which incidentally did not have the elephant on board, came speeding on the road, the police accosted them. There were two luxury jeeps, a lorry and a tractor. In addition to the tractor, the police also stopped the lorry and the two jeeps as they approached. There was a discussion of some sort between them and I recorded all of it. Subsequently, the police received a phone call from somewhere and they said, "Okay, let these vehicles go." At this point, I also recorded the vehicles leaving. At that point, one of the people travelling in the luxury jeep got off and came up to me and said, he grabbed a hold of my collar and dragged me away. He shoved me against the door of the jeep 3 times and then opened the door and showed me inside the vehicle. Then they took me away along with the camera. I could hear them smashing the camera against the door. During the raid, I heard them hooting loudly. They were laughing and they were verbally abusing the police and the wildlife officers. I recorded all of this. The police returned the camera to me later, but the cassette was gone and the camera was destroyed. The cassette was missing. They had taken it.
Mahinda Pushpakumara, who was injured in the attack, has been admitted to the Godekavela hospital. The tractor and equipment seized by wildlife officers is due to be produced in court. The wildlife officers and environmentalists have been conducting a search operation in the Udavalavan National Park since this morning in search of the calf that was to be captured. The operation ended in success this evening when the search party discovered the calf in the Valiyar area in Galpaya, not far from the national park. Wildlife officers say that the group had attempted to harass and capture the 4-year-old calf. They suspect that the group may also have attempted to kill the mother and make off with the calf. They added that steps have been taken to entrust the calf to the At Athura Sevana sanctuary in Udawalawa. Meanwhile, lawyers say that the police let go of 2 opportunities to apprehend suspects without producing a warrant.
Meanwhile, Newsfirst lodged a written complaint with the Inspector General of Police today over the attack on our provincial correspondent Mahinda Pushpakumara. Newsfirst requested the Inspector General of Police to serve justice by enforcing the law with regard to the assault on our reporter and to return the cassette containing the extremely valuable footage recorded by him. The police media spokesperson says that an investigation into the incident has been launched under the supervision of an Assistant Superintendent of Police.
A team supervised by an assistant superintendent of police will conduct a special investigation into this matter. The journalist in question has stated that police officers were at the scene at the time. In the event that police officers have failed to carry out their duties at the time, we expect to take disciplinary action against them. We will also conduct an investigation into the people who attempted to abduct him and stole the cassette.
On a related note, convening a media briefing this evening, the Minister of Wildlife Resource Conservation, Vijit Vijayamuni Soisa, commented on the incident in Udawalawe.
Since this is a matter that will be taken up in court, we can only make a statement based on the evidence recorded there. I asked the Director General to submit a comprehensive report to me on the incident.
The Newsfirst journalist who went there to cover this incident yesterday has been attacked. He was thrown out midway and his camera was smashed. Are you aware of this?
In truth, we condemn this. We will be able to understand the nature and depth of this.
There is information that a prominent politician was behind this. What do you have to say about that?
I have clearly stated that it is possible that officials or someone else is cooperating with activity of this nature and that there may be political connotations. At present, you can't even laugh without politics. So for a matter of such proportions, it is possible for politics not to be involved.
As we mentioned during that 360-degree report, lawyers say that the police let go of 2 opportunities to arrest suspects without producing warrants. Now, we'll have more on that story coming up later in the bulletin. In the meantime, looking at a story that is making global headlines just right now, hundreds of people are feared dead or trapped after landslides this morning in a remote part of far northeastern Afghanistan. Now, a provincial governor said that an initial landslide happened before noon in the mountainous district of Argo in Badakhshan province, crashing down on about 300 homes. Provincial Governor Shah Waliullah Adib said, citing reports from district officials. Now, a subsequent landslide then buried hundreds of people, as many as 600, who had come from nearby areas to help dig people out of the first landslide. Now, local officials estimate that the 300 abodes would have been home to roughly 5 to 7 people each. The provincial governor says that it isn't clear exactly how many people were buried in the slides and that no official death toll was immediately available. Now, Badakhshan province, which is bordered by Tajikistan to the north and Pakistan to the south, is a sparsely populated region comprising of majority Tajiks and an Uzbek and Kyrgyz minority. Badakhshan was the only province that was not controlled by the Taliban when it ruled Afghanistan. Moving on to other headline-making local news, the case pertaining to the murder of 4 individuals, including Bharat Lakshman Premachandra, was referred to the High Court by Colombo Additional Magistrate Priyantha Lianage today. The Attorney General had indicted the 13 defendants, including parliamentarian Duminda Silva, on the charge of murdering 4 individuals, including Bharat Lakshman Premachandra.
complaint stated that the incident took place in the vicinity of a polling station in Kolonaro on the day of the provincial council polls on the 8th of October 2011. Lawyers who appeared for MP Duminda Silva at the Magistrates Court said that he was not a defendant in the case but rather a victim, arguing that he should be treated as such. Lawyers pointed out that parliamentarian Duminda Silva, who was injured in the incident, was subsequently admitted to a hospital in Singapore and he returned to the island after several months of treatment. However, additional magistrate Priyantha Liyanage, before whom the evidence with regard to the case was presented, said that there was evidence against all 13 defendants and referred the case to the Colombo High Court.
I බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා මේ සම්බන්ධයෙන්
We hope to make a written submission to the Attorney General over this matter to request that they be released. We will do it once we obtain the case record.
කරනවා මේ නඩු වාර්තා ගත්තට පස්සේ
සියලුම විත්තිකරුවන්
The case against all suspects was referred to the High Court. I was afraid that the 13th defendant would not be referred to the High Court, but what we wished for took place. I believe that the courts will be fair. We have suffered for over 2.5 years. Now it's my turn.
දැන් ඉතින් අවුරුදු දෙකමාරක් තිස්සේ අපි ගොඩක් දුක් විඳා. දැන් ඉතින් මගේ වාරේ. දැන් බම්බරේ වැල්ලෙත් කැරකෙනවා.
Now, 3 people were injured when a battery-powered torch exploded inside a house in Barandeniya Maddekanda in Balangoda today. A spokesperson for the Balangoda hospital said that the injured were given preliminary treatment at the hospital before being transferred to the Ratnapura hospital.
A father and his 2 children were injured in the explosion. The 14-year-old son who was injured in the explosion had discovered the torch in front of the doorway when he opened the main door of their home this morning. He had picked up the torch and brought it to his father in the kitchen. Our reporter says the torch exploded when it was switched on. The 14-year-old son, the father and 24-year-old daughter were injured in the incident.
When I heard the noise and came inside, the 2 children and their father were both lying injured on the kitchen floor.
We got them into a vehicle and took them to Ratnapura. There were pieces of metal everywhere. The police suspect that the torch was rigged to explode and was placed in front of the house intentionally.
Well, taking a look back at our top story this evening, with regard to the incident in Udawalawa where a Newsfirst correspondent was obstructed from carrying out his duty and was the victim of an attempted abduction, and also the alleged attempt to kidnap a wild elephant calf from the Udawalawa Reserve, attorneys say that police let go of 2 opportunities to arrest suspects without having to produce warrants. Let's take a look at what Attorney at Law Jagat Gunawardena had to say on this matter.
They had attacked a journalist at the scene and had grabbed his camera. As per subsection 1 of section 32 of the Code of Criminal Procedures in our country, if police officers witness an incident that can be classed as disturbing the peace, they have the ability to arrest persons responsible without a warrant. We condemn the actions of the police officers who looked on at this instance, when in addition to the crime pertaining to the theft of elephants, a crime when arrest could be made without a warrant was taking place.
ඊයේ ගොඩකවැල සිරස වාර්තාකරු මහින්ද මහත්මයාට
A local strongman claiming to be related to the powers that be in this country had inhumanely harassed and attacked the citizen reporter in Godakavela, Mahinda Pushpakumara, and had obstructed him from carrying out his duties. These are extremely despicable actions. If this type of harassment and suppression is not stopped, or if it is not defeated, society will have to face a major state of terror in the end. These are despicable actions that must be condemned by all. We call upon society as a whole to rally against such actions.
Now, yesterday our cameras captured footage of how a cabinet minister obstructed a journalist from carrying out his duties at the May Day rally of the Ceylon Workers' Congress. The cabinet minister in question was the Minister of Livestock Development, Arumugam Thondaman.
This was the manner in which the Secretary of the Ceylon Workers' Congress and Minister of Livestock Development Arumugam Thondaman obstructed a journalist who was covering the May Day procession and rally of the party in Bandaravela from carrying out his duties. Our report added that the stage for the rally had been erected, blocking the main road in the Bandaravela town centre, and that protective fences had also been removed in the town. Media organizations too commented on Minister Arumugam Thondaman's behavior.
தொலைக்காட்சி படப்பிடிப்பாளர் ஒருவர் அமைச்சர் ஒருவரால் தள்ளப்பட்டதாக அல்லது தாக்கப்பட்டதாக வெளியாகும்.
As the Tamil Journalist Collective, we condemn this behavior. It is normal for videographers to carry out their task at gatherings of this nature. If the videographer's work was disruptive in the view of the minister or the organizers, they could have informed him and then removed him. But the fact that he was pushed and shoved away from there is distasteful in our eyes. At the same time, we say that the minister in question or a party official must respond to this.
அமைச்சரும் அல்லது அந்த கட்சி சார்ந்தவர்களும் உரிய பதிலை
அமைச்சர் ஆறுமுகம் தொண்டமான்
Minister Thondaman attacked a journalist at the May Day rally held yesterday. When a minister acts in this way, it is evident to us what the plight of democracy and media freedom in this country is. There is evidence of undue influence exerted on media freedom and media democracy in this country, but no action has been taken against this as yet. A minister cannot act in this way. As media organizations, we condemn this behavior. The whole world has seen how Minister Thondaman treated the journalists. This is an extremely despicable act. It is the journalist's duty to provide information to the people of this country.
Minister Nimal Siripala De Silva says that safeguarding a leadership position is tougher than securing the position in question. The minister made this statement at a ceremony held in Badula today.
Minister Nimal Siripala De Silva handed out badges to prefects attached to the Badula Central College. A leader's objective is not only to give commands but also to lend an ear and understand the ideas put forth by those who depend on your service. Empathy is important in leadership. Speak less and listen more. Safeguarding your position as a leader is a bigger task than securing the position. It is applicable to all sectors including politics. Some leaders lose their position after being appointed a leader. Some leaders are forgotten and their leadership qualities fade with time. The trust placed by the people diminish with time. You cannot deceive the public. If you are a political leader, you should serve the public without deceiving them.
The Allavallavai road has been closed until further notice due to the threat of landslides. Assistant Director of Badula Disaster Management Centre EML Udayakumara said that heavy rainfall in the area resulted in the closure of the road. Meanwhile, the Disaster Management Centre noted that if the heavy rainfall persists during the next 24 hours, there is a threat of landslides in the Nuwara, Kandy and Badula districts. When contacted by Newsfirst, a spokesperson attached to the Met Department said that the inclement weather over the island will continue for the next 2 days.
Vehicular movement along the Allavallavai road came to a standstill last night following an earth slip near the 19th mile post. The road has been shut down for vehicular traffic until further notice. Meanwhile, the extreme weather hampered train services along the upcountry railway line. The Navalapitiya Railway Control Unit said that due to the collapse of earth embankments, the Udarata-Manike and the Podi-Manike trains had to be stopped at 2 points. Furthermore, train services along the Haputale, Dirthalava and Ohiya Idalgasinna railway track were also disrupted owing to the extreme weather. In Kandy, several roads in Peradeniya Road were inundated following the heavy rainfall experienced in the area. Peradeniya Sarananda Road was also flooded. This is the manner in which the Dunhinda and Ravana Falls looked after the heavy rainfall.
So now here's a look at the weather forecast for the next 24 hours.
War Heroes Flag Month commenced today at a ceremony held under the auspices of President Mahinda Rajapaksa. The first commemorative flag was presented to the President at this ceremony, which was held at Temple Trees.
The first War Heroes commemorative flag was presented to the President by K.P. Senanga Nuwanti, the daughter of Corporal K.B. Nuwan of the 2nd Commander Regiment of the Sri Lanka Army, who was killed in action in Mannar 2007. A token of appreciation was also presented to the President at this occasion for services rendered to the families of war heroes. The governors of the provinces also presented the President with the revenue earned through the sale of commemorative flags last year. These funds were in turn presented to the Ranaviru Services Authority to be used for the welfare of war heroes and their families. Parallel to the decoration of War Heroes Flag Month, scholarships were also presented to the children of war heroes who had gained entrance to universities. War Heroes Flag Month will be commemorated until the 2nd of June.
You're watching News First. Coming up on the news tonight. Slavian separatists take up positions in city, setting up barricades. Details on the News First international desk. In business news, the Deputy Minister of Investment Promotion says that concerns have arisen among foreign investors as a result of the opinions that cropped up in the country recently against recently adopted strategic development projects. Deputy Minister Faiza Mustafa made this statement at a media briefing convened in Colombo today.
Objective is to become a middle-income nation by 2016 with a per capita income of $4,000. As you know, today in the area of foreign investment, it's a very competitive environment. Positive vibes does not have to come only from the government, it has to look from the opposition as well, because investor would look at vibes in totality. So the recent objections raised with regard to the Strategic Development Act by certain quarters has created certain fears with regard to these investors. So I'm trying to say, so there are concerns expressed by these investors.
Journalists also questioned the minister on opposition to these projects that has come from government quarters. Parties in the government too have the opportunity to express their views on certain government policies and decisions. No, you are right. I was talking about the opposition. What I am saying is concerns have arisen over the views that were expressed by certain parties. Journalists further questioned the minister on whether a casino could be established using an existing license once the hotel project is completed.
In that gazette, there is no mention of casinos. So it's very when the investor would see, when you harp on an investor's intention, I mean, people can have various intentions. We all have intentions, right? Some may be good, some may be bad. But to penalize an investment on the basis of intention, I don't think has a legal or factual basis. Here, all those who opposed it has gone into the intention, drawing parallel between the industries which they are involved in. But the fact remains, anybody has to operate through a legal framework. And in terms of the Strategic Development Act, the only concessions which we can give is the concessions referred to in the Gazette.
The Jatika Helorume says that casinos will be introduced once this is built. No, it is the Jatika Helorume's opinion that it could happen in the future. We are an open government. The stakeholders can express their views independently. This is government policy. I see this as a mixed development hotel project that will bring in $1.4 billion in foreign investment and create 7,000 jobs.
රැකියා 7000ක් බිහි කරන්න හොටලයක් සහ මේ මිෂ්ටර් ව්‍යාපෘතියක් හැටියට තමයි මම.
Western Provincial Minister Uday Gamampila says that announcements to the effect that casino tycoon James Packer will not be visiting the country are false. He made this statement participating at an event held today.
There were media reports released yesterday or the day before saying that James Packer will not be visiting the country. I would say they are all false reports. They are trying to fool the people. Some of them who spoke to me after seeing the report told me that this will be a loss of 900 million rupees. Everyone tries to view everything through a lens of money. When he arrives in the island, 900 million rupees comes with him. That 900 million rupees will be of no use if that money is going to turn youngsters of the country into escorts and underworld kingpins. The ceremony was organized to appoint Madhumadava Aravinda as the chairman of the Western Province Aesthetics Resort.
Now, addressing an event held in Kalutara, the Prime Minister D.M. Jayaratne said that there will be no provision for anyone to play in casinos via the orders that were passed in Parliament recently.
The event took place at the Sri Sangaraja Mahavihara in Isrupura Dodangoda in Kalutara.
යසත් පත්තරේ නෑ සුබුදු සම්බන්ධව කැසිනෝ සම්බන්ධව දිවුරුන් දීලා කියන්න පුළුවන් එහෙම කිසිම දෙයක්.
There isn't any word in the Gazette which says casino. I can swear on that. There is nothing that mentions casinos and gambling. However, there is a factor here. Persons who build 1,200 room buildings are persons who engage in such activities. However, the law in Sri Lanka does not allow it.
නමුත් ලංකාවේ එහෙම එකක් කරන්න ඉඩ දීලා නෑ නීතිය. ඒකට ආර්කයි ඒ වගේ මිනිස්සු ඉඳලා තමයි ඔහොම කතා කරන්නේ. එහෙනම් ඉතින් අඟුලිමාල චරිතය මොකටද?
The cup erecting ceremony, in line with the upcoming series of Vesak Zone, took place at the head office of the Capital Maharaja Organisation down Baybrook Place, Colombo 2 this evening. Subsequent to religious observances, the cup erecting ceremony for the Sirasa Vesak Zone took place at the auspicious time of 6:20 this evening. A group including senior officials of the MTV-MBC network, including channel head of Sirasa TV Chandana Surya Bandara, attended the event. Sirasa Vesak Zone will commence from the 14th of May.
The Around the World team that is spreading awareness on the World Conference on Youth landed in India this morning. The team is due to attend a discussion and special event on the World Conference on Youth in the coming days before making their way back to Sri Lanka. The team was able to visit the India Gate Monument in New Delhi today. Newsfirst Ramesh Irugal Bandara reports.
Around the World in 40 days.
The India Gate is one of the iconic landmarks which represents the Indian capital of New Delhi. Work on the 42-meter-long monument, which was built in memory of 12,516 fallen Indian soldiers, commenced in 1921. The monument, which is based on the structure of the Arc de Triomphe in France, was completed in 1931. An eternal flame has been lit at the monument in memory of Indian soldiers who died in the line of duty. The Around the World team reached its final destination today. That is New Delhi, India. We will have more details from India tomorrow as well. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Ramesh Irugal Bandara with Yasrat Kamal Siri from New Delhi, India.
Now, the delegation from 159 countries have confirmed their participation at the upcoming World Youth Conference in Sri Lanka. Speaking at a media briefing in Colombo today to unveil the theme song of the World Youth Conference 2014, the minister expressed the following views.
The theme song for the 2014 World Youth Conference was launched at the Government Information Centre this morning. The World Youth Conference will commence on Tuesday at the Hambantota Magam Bruhnapura International Convention Centre under the auspices of President Mahinda Rajapaksa. The plenary sessions of the conference will continue at the Bandaranaike Memorial International Conference Hall in Colombo. Youth Affairs ministers from 28 countries, senior officials from 62 countries and 1,000 foreign delegates will take part in the conference.
මේ සමුළුවේ කතිකයන් විදියට පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ තරුණ මන්ත්‍රීවරුන් රාශියක් කටයුතු කරනවා.
Young parliamentarians will function as the speakers at this event. Parliamentarians representing the opposition are also slated to speak at the event. We have requested all parliamentarians and political parties to nominate a youth to observe the activities at the World Youth Conference.
දේශපාලන පක්ෂ නියෝජනය කරමින් තරුණ නියෝජිතයෙක් නිරීක්ෂකයෙක් විදියට මේ සමුළුවේ සමස්ත ක්‍රියාවලිය තුළට එකතු කරන්න කියලා සහභාගී කරන්න කියලා.
And on a more somber note, the final rites of the former chieftain of the indigenous tribe of Henanigala, Taluwarige Kaluappu, are to be observed the day after tomorrow. The former chieftain was 114 years of age at the time of his passing.
The former chieftain of the indigenous tribe of Henanigala passed away on the night of the 30th of April. The former chieftain, who was receiving treatment for a long-standing illness, was 114 years of age at the time of his demise. Talawarige Kaluappu fathered 10 children and had the good fortune to witness the births of 105 grandchildren, great-grandchildren and great-great-grandchildren, constituting 4 generations of his dynasty. As per Adivasi tradition, the body of the former chieftain has been covered with leaves and branches. A large group, including the chief of the Vaddas, Uruwarige Vanila Atto, gathered to pay their final respects to the former chieftain. The final rites are to be observed the day after tomorrow at the Henanigala indigenous tribal village. The chief of the Vaddas, Uruwarige Vanila Atto, and the chieftain of the indigenous tribe of Henanigala, Gunabandia, will participate at the funeral. The indigenous tribe of Henanigala settled in the area led by Kaluappu in 1982 on the invitation of the late minister Gamini Disanayaka. They were subsequently provided lands for farming under the Mahavili scheme.
From India, a member of India's most influential Nehru Gandhi dynasty, the daughter of Chief of ruling Congress Party Sonia Gandhi, Priyanka Gandhi, says the opposition had launched malicious campaign against ruling Congress Party. While campaigning for her brother and Vice President of the Congress Party Rahul Gandhi in northern Amethi constituency of Uttar Pradesh state, Priyanka alleged opposition had distributed booklets with distorted facts.
The level of campaign has been lowered. It has reached to such a level that people are distributing malicious booklets in the night. You can understand level of politics in the country. The opposition party, whose candidate is giving interviews in the dark, complaining that there is no electricity, has petitioned the Allahabad High Court asking it to stop 24/7 electricity supply to these 2 constituencies. Priyanka's election trail aggression has enlivened a campaign led by her brother Rahul Gandhi, who has struggled to connect with voters impatient for change as economic growth bumps along at its lowest levels in a decade. India's main opposition party, Bharatiya Janata Party, slammed Congress Party and ruling party in northern Jammu and Kashmir state National Conference for betraying people of the valley.
Since many years, Congress Party and National Conference ruling Kashmir and in Delhi also, these parties were in governance. Every time leaders of these political parties, after asking for your votes, betraying you and did not even fulfill their promises. The rukus in this area is because of Congress and its corruption. Packages worth millions and billions come from federal government. Instead of reaching to you, the money goes inside lockers of the rulers over here. Because of this, people are neither getting employment nor facilities.
India's Law Minister Kapil Sibal said main opposition Bharatiya Janata Party's card as a panel is likely to be constituted to investigate snooping allegations against its prime ministerial candidate Narendra Modi. In a bid to expedite the investigation in snooping case, the federal government is likely to constitute a probe panel and appoint a judge in the matter. The Congress Party has been skeptical about investigation by the provincial government in the western Gujarat state into the case, as they maintained that it could not be fair, and has been demanding an investigation by a Supreme Court judge into what the local media has called quote-unquote Snoopgate. The Congress Party has been skeptical about investigation by the provincial government in western Gujarat state into the case, as they maintained that it could not be fair, and has been demanding an investigation by a Supreme Court judge into what the local media has called Snoopgate. Gujarat state, governed by Modi, had launched an investigation into allegations he ordered invasive surveillance of an architect in a case his opponents say shows a tendency to abuse power.
On to one of our headline stories. The trade union action launched by the Government Nursing Officers Association was staged at several other hospitals today. Meanwhile, talks between the Family Health Services officers or midwives, the nurses and the Minister of Health this evening ended without a resolution.
Union action organised by nurses is in effect at several hospitals including the Colombo National Hospital over the conduct of family health workers or midwives. The strike action is in effect at the Jaffna, Ratnapura, Karapitiya, Tangol, Alpitiya and Gampala hospitals. Meanwhile, putting a further burden to patients seeking treatment at the Kurunagala Teaching Hospital, nurses stepped away from emergency services today.
There are no nurses, the doctors are doing everything with the assistance of the attendants. There isn't medicine, the doctors and the attendants inject the medicine. If it was not for the doctors and attendants, our situation would have been grave.
Our correspondent said that the doctors together with the minor staff at the hospital are providing treatment at the maternity ward and the premature baby unit at the Kurunagala Teaching Hospital.
There's a complex process to follow. When taking care of these infants, we are carrying out this process with the assistance of the doctors and the minor staff very carefully. My question is, how can someone just leave a premature infant who is receiving treatment with the assistance of an oxygen machine?
I heard that there was a strike action. I arrived at this hospital in fear. The doctors and the midwives were present in the hospital. Meanwhile, the nurses attached to the Anuradhapura Teaching Hospital commenced a token strike today.
There are around 600 employees at this hospital. 400 of them are attached to the Government Nursing Officers Union. All the branches of our union have reached a decision to strengthen our efforts based on the outcome of our problems.
All activities at the hospital except for emergency services were stalled from 7 a.m. to 12 noon as a result of the token strike. The Government Midwifery Services Association says that the health authorities must intervene to resolve this issue.
We have stepped away from normal duties at the Colombo National Hospital. Operations usually take place at 12 theatres. Emergency surgeries are taking place in only one theatre. The Government Medical Officers Association assumes that the health sector can be controlled by them. They are of the view that it is their organisation that decides on who should be provided with the degree and who should continue to remain and who should not.
However, the spokesperson of the JMOA, Navin D'Souza, says the leaders of the nurses' trade union need to take the full responsibility for the situation at hand.
Overseas, Russian President Vladimir Putin has discussed in a phone conversation with Italian Prime Minister Matteo Renzi the situation in Ukraine and the necessity for all concerned parties to respect the Geneva Agreement. The Kremlin press service announced that both leaders exchanged opinions on the situation in Ukraine and the current issues of the Russia-Italian cooperation in various arenas, including energy.
Ukrainian troops were seen patrolling a road near the eastern city of Slavyansk, which is being held by separatists. Dozens of soldiers were seen in military vehicles in the area. The Ukrainian government said last month it was launching a renewed anti-terrorist operation to retake towns and public buildings held by pro-Russian separatists if they do not disarm and leave under the terms of an accord with Russia made in Geneva that was also signed by the United States and the European Union. Pro-Russian separatists in the eastern Ukrainian city of Slavyansk said Ukrainian forces had launched a large-scale operation to retake the town and one military helicopter had been shut down.
And on to news from the boxing ring. Sri Lanka emerged champions of the Lions Cup International Boxing Tournament with 5 gold medals today. Newsfirst and the MTV-MBC Media Network were the media partners of the tournament.
The Lions Cup International Boxing Tournament came to a close today at the Sugadadasa Indoor Stadium in Colombo. The final bout in the 46kg light welterweight category was between Sri Lanka's Mohammad Dilshan and Kenya Denik Okuth. The final result of the bout was gold to Mohammad Dilshan. Meanwhile, the finals of the 60kg lightweight category took place between two Sri Lankans, Dinidu Saparmadu and Anuradha Gunathilaka. Dinidu Saparmadu defeated his opponent to clinch gold. Anuradha Ratnayaka defeated Clark Bautista of the Philippines in the finals of the 52kg flyweight category to win gold. Meanwhile, MM Prabhashwara defeated E. Madhushan to win gold in the 49kg light flyweight category. Anusha Kurituaku clinched Sri Lanka's 5th gold medal today by defeating Sopida Sataram to win the women's finals of the 51kg flyweight category. Gold winner of the 64kg light welterweight category, Mohammad Dirshan, was adjudged most talented boxer of the tournament. Anusha Kurituaku, the gold medal winner of the 51kg women's flyweight category, was adjudged the most talented female boxer of the tournament. Incidentally, Sri Lanka emerged champions in the first event Lions Cup boxing tournament.
The Sri Lanka cricket team that will play against Ireland left the country today. Prior to their departure, skipper Angelo Matthews said that while aiming for wins during the tour, the team expects to provide exposure to newcomers.
The Sri Lankan team that left for Ireland today will play 2 one-day internationals in Dublin starting on the 6th. Senior players in the Lankan side, Kumar Sangakkara, Mahalaja Wardana, T.M. Dilshan, Rangana Herath and Lasith Malinga will not play in these games, while Ashan Priyanjan, Kitruan Vithanage, Chaturanga De Silva and wicketkeeper Niroshan Dikwella have been included in the squad. Incidentally, this will be Lahiru Thirimanne's first ODI cap after being made vice-captain of the team.
We will call in all our senior players for the tour against England. However, we hope to provide exposure to the newcomers during the tour against Ireland. At the same time, we also hope to win the games. Unfortunately, Paul Fabres has joined the England team and now trains them. As a professional team, we are not at all disheartened that he is now training the England side. When we go into the game, we need to perform our best. Just because he knows our plan does not mean he knows all our secrets. We can change. Myself and the team have this in mind and are working on this.
I think මමත් කණ්ඩායමත් කණ්ඩායම හැමෝමත් ඒක ගැන හොඳින් ධාරණය කරගෙන ඒ විදිහට වැඩ කරනවා.
Well, that brings an end to tonight's edition of Primetime News. Thank you for joining with us. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Minoshi Ratnasekara.
As always, it's been a pleasure having you with us. I'm Nadim Majid, just reminding you that you can keep abreast of the latest stories that we are following here at Newsfirst by logging on to our website, newsfirst.lk. Good night and good luck.
Hotline 0114-896-896. www.newsfirst.lk. Feedback at newsfirst.lk.